The phrase Aya Ram, Gaya Ram is frequently used in Indian polity with regard to MPs and MLAs defecting from one party to another party. And in Indian history, there was one incident when one of the MLAs changed his party thrice in a fortnight. And this caused political instability and the political system of India becoming very, very unstable. So this led to the creation of the 10th schedule, that is the anti-defection schedule. And the anti-defection law, which talks about prevention of the defection of MPs or the MLAs from one party to another party. And now with regard to the anti-defection law and the role of speaker, which is very, very controversial under it, the Supreme Court of India, the Honorable Supreme Court of India has given its observation on the role of speaker within the anti-defection law. Hello and welcome to the in-depth series section of Drishti IAS. I am Aisha, and in today's episode we will be talking about the topic of the controversial role of speaker and what the Honorable Supreme Court of India has said with regard to the role of speaker within the anti-defection law. So what all we will be looking into this is, first of all, about the news, then what the Supreme Court observation is about the previous observations of the Supreme Court, what is the anti-defection law, role of speaker, what are the important provisions of the anti-defection law, criticism of the anti-defection law, and in the end a prelims MCQ. Topic is of relevance from General Studies paper 2, that is Indian polity. The news talks about Supreme Court as guardian of constitution is not powerless if a speaker decides to sit on anti-defection pleas, and this is what has been said by the Justice B.R. Gavai. Now Supreme Court, who is considered as the guardian of the constitution, has said that under the anti-defection law, that is the 10th schedule, there is a power of the presiding officer which has been given to the presiding officer, and that presiding officer in case of Lok Sabha is the speaker, in case of Rajya Sabha is the chairman. So the presiding officer role is contentious, and Supreme Court has said that Supreme Court is not powerless. Supreme Court is not powerless if the speaker decides not to give any decision with regard to the defection pleas. This is what the Supreme Court has observed. Now before moving forward, Drishti IAS Mukherjee Nagar classes has now shifted to Noida, and the admissions are open for the IAS GS Foundation course covering both prelims and mains. English medium batch is starting from 8th of April, while the admissions are open for the Hindi medium batch. In case of any query, give us a call at 87501. So the news talks about that the Supreme Court of India has said that speaker could not use his indecision to defect the worthy objective of the 10th schedule, that is the anti-defection law of the constitution. Now 10th schedule, that is the anti-defection law, it talks about the prevention of the defection of party members from one party to another party. Now there is a deciding authority under this, who is the presiding officer. In case of Lok Sabha, it is speaker. In case of Rajya Sabha, it is chairman. Now the presiding authority has the power to decide. So the decision is made by the presiding officer whether the person who has defected. So the final decision is by the presiding officer. Now there is one of the biggest criticism of the anti-defection law and the role of the speaker or the presiding officer under it is that the time frame has not been mentioned, that within how much time the speaker or the presiding officer needs to give the decision. Now that time frame can be from one day and it can go into months or years also. Now this is one of the criticism, and on the aspect of that whether the speaker can, if the speaker is not giving any decision on the case of or on the decision of defection of party members, then the Supreme Court has said that they are not powerless. They are the guardian of the constitution and they are not powerless. They can ask the speaker, or the question can be asked from the speaker, that why the decision has not been given till now and why so much of time has been taken, as the decision of the speaker comes under the judicial review also. Now the question is also raised. Now let me give you an example. Like for example, the term of the Lok Sabha is for 5 years. Now imagine that if in the first year a party member defects from one's party to another party, and now the final decision to be taken on this goes to the presiding officer. Now for example, if the presiding officer is the speaker, now the decision is with the speaker and the speaker is not giving the decision. Now the speaker is not giving the decision for the coming 4 years. Now the term of the Lok Sabha is 5 years. Now the speaker is not giving the decision for 4 years. So the Lok Sabha in the end will end. But the decision on the defection has not come yet. So in that case, what is the conclusion? There is no conclusion because the decision has not been given by the speaker. So these are few of the problems, and this is the point on which the Supreme Court has given its observation that the Supreme Court of India is not powerless. So the Supreme Court has said that speaker could not use his indecision to defect the worthy objective of the 10th schedule, and the objective or the aim of the 10th schedule is with regard to prevention of the defection of the party members, so that stability within the party or stability in the political system of India can be maintained of the constitution. And the question of the law in front of the Supreme Court was, can constitutional courts direct the speakers, because the speaker acts as the quasi-judicial tribunal within the anti-defection law, to decide anti-defection disqualification petition within a specific time frame. So the question was whether the constitutional courts can ask the speaker to give the decision within a time frame or not. But the point was that speaker also works as a quasi-judicial tribunal within the anti-defection law, because the speaker is the final authority to decide whether a party member has defected or not. Now let us talk about the Supreme Court observation, what the Supreme Court has said on this matter. So first is court's power over speaker's inaction. Supreme Court has stated that it is not powerless if a speaker remains indecisive on disqualification petition. Supreme Court can put a question on the speaker with regard to why the decision has not been given. Second point was court's right to set a reasonable time frame. While courts cannot dictate the outcome of a disqualification petition, they can direct the speaker to decide within a reasonable period. Even though the decision remains with the speaker, but within a time frame they need to give the decision. This is what the Supreme Court can ask the speaker. Third point was, if the speaker fails to act, then the Supreme Court can invoke its extraordinary power under the Article 142 and the justice needs to be delivered, and the extraordinary power of the Supreme Court can be used. So this was the observation by the Supreme Court. Now let us talk about the other observations that has already been given by the Honorable Supreme Court of India with regard to the 10th schedule. So first was judicial review over speaker's decision. So courts should have the authority to intervene if the speaker delays action, and this was the Quijotto-Holland case of 1992, that the action of the speaker comes under judicial review. Second was impartiality of the speaker. The speaker should act as a neutral adjudicator rather than a political figure. This was said under Ravi S. Nayak versus Union of India 1994. Because when the speaker is giving the decision on the defection, then speaker must not form any biasness and the objectivity must be maintained, and the decision must be given on the objective guidelines. Then independent tribunal for disqualification cases. Consider transferring disqualification powers from the speaker to an independent tribunal, and this was said in the Karnataka MLS disqualification case of 2020. So these are few of the earlier observations. Now let us talk about the anti-defection law. So the anti-defection law refers to switching political allegiance. Now if this is one political party, this is second political party, and this is a third political party. Now what happens is that if a member of the first political party in one night get defects to another political party. Earlier, one day before, the member was the member of the party number 1. Now next day he or she jumps to the second party and becomes the member of the party number 2. Then third day the member of the party joins some other party and defects to party number 3. Now this is what is called a defection. So to stop this defection, to restrict this defection, anti-defection law came to the rule. So that defection refers to switching political allegiance, and the anti-defection law was enacted in the year 1985 through the 52nd Amendment Act of 1985 as part of the 10th schedule. You need to remember this: anti-defection law, schedule 10th, which Amendment Act? That is 52nd, year 1985. And what was the aim of the anti-defection law? It was to prevent or discourage defection by imposing penalties on politicians who switch from one political party to another political party, and this was basically done to maintain the stability of the political party and also maintain the cohesion within the political system of India. Then ensures that politicians are held accountable, and also when the voting takes place and the people of India goes and votes for a particular political party or the member of the political party, then the member of the political party needs to be held accountable and also giving value to the votes of the people. So it was to ensure that politicians are held accountable to the voters who have elected them, and also to maintain the stability and cohesion of the political parties. Now about the important provisions within the anti-defection law. So it was first of all with regard to the disqualification. Now what are the grounds on which a person can be disqualified from the political parties? So that is, first, if he or she voluntarily gives up his membership. Now if a person voluntarily does not want to be the member of any political party, then the disqualification can take place. Or if he or she votes or abstains from voting in such house contrary to any direction issued by the political party. Now if the political party is saying something but the member is not following what the political party is saying, then also the disqualification can take place. Then in case of independent members, so if the independent members join any political party after the election takes place, then also the disqualification can take place. Now in case of the nominated members, then if the nominated member joins any political party after the expiry of 6 months from the date he takes his seat in the house. So if the nominated member joins any of the political party after the expiry of the 6 months, it means that when the nominated member has taken the seat, after 6 months from it, if he joins any political party, then also the disqualification can take place. Now these are the grounds on which the disqualification of the member of the political party can take place. Now there are few exceptions in this. First and foremost exception is the case of the merger. So if two political parties gets merged or the merger of two political parties take place, so if a member goes out of his party due to the merger of the party with another party, and this can only take place if 2/3 of the members of the party have agreed to such merger. So two political party gets merged only when two-thirds of the members of the parties have agreed to the merger, and if the person goes out of this party in this case, then the disqualification exception will be given. Another case is the presiding officer. Now if the member, after being elected as the presiding officer of the house, voluntarily gives up the membership of his party or rejoins it after he ceases to hold that office. Now if the person is a part of a political party but he or she is now given the position of the presiding officer, then the person needs to give up the seat and then again can rejoin it. So that is also an exception. Then law does not provide a time frame within which the presiding officer has to decide a defection case. Now this will come under the deciding authority. We are just coming up to it. Now the deciding authority provision is that the presiding officer, now when we say presiding officer, I've made it very clear, the presiding officer, so you cannot say it is the speaker who decides the defection or the chairman who decides the defection? It is the presiding officer of the house who decides the defection. So when you say speaker, be very clear, you have to mention the Lok Sabha, and if you say chairman, you have to mention the Rajya Sabha. So the deciding authority is the presiding officer, and the decision of the presiding officer is final. But now the presiding officer's decision is under the judicial review. It means whatever decision has been taken by the presiding officer, judicial review can be done of that decision. And one of the criticism of the deciding authority is that no time frame has been given under the law to decide on the pleas of the defection. Now the problem lies that if the case has come to the presiding officer, and the case can only come to the presiding officer when complaint has been made to the presiding officer, and if the presiding officer is not giving any decision on the defection case, then the problem is that it can stay with the presiding officer for a very long period of time. Second is the role of whip. Now the role of whip is issued by the political parties, and if any member does not follow the whip, then the consequences can be very harsh also. Then comes the rule making power. So the presiding officer of a house is empowered to make rules to give effect to the provisions of the 10th schedule. That what are the provisions of the 10th schedule and how it should work, this can be said by the presiding officer of the house. Now what few of the criticisms for the 10th schedule is curbing dissent. Now lack of intra-party democracy or undermining representative democracy, controversial role of speaker's role we have discussed, that the time frame is not given. Now dissent point can be that if the political party has issued a whip, now it is like forcing on the party member to follow what the political party is saying, and if any of the member has some other views, then this becomes a problematic situation. Then lack of intra-party democracy, and this is also a problem when the forcefulness of what the party is saying is forcibly given to all the members, and the members does not feel any individuality, and the members is not able to raise his or her voice, because if that happens and is going against a whip, then the disqualification can also take place. So these are few of the criticisms of the anti-defection law. So this was it, and in the end a prelims MCQ, and like always you people will give me the answer in the comment section, and the question is a PYQ of the year 2014, and it is: which one of the following schedules of the Constitution of India contains provisions regarding anti-defection? So that is 2nd schedule, 5th schedule, 8th schedule, or the 10th schedule. Very easy one, because we have discussed this in the whole video. So give me the answer in the comment section, and that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Till we meet next time, keep reading, keep writing, and keep subscribing to the channel. Thank you.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.